Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Caden. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today, I read Deuteronomy 10, 11, and 12, and I'm going to be going over in this video Deuteronomy 10, kind of what I took away from it and what's going to be applied to my life. And and you should go watch all the other Deuteronomies, and you should definitely watch Deuteronomy 12 coming out. I'll be posting it right after this, because God just kind of spoke to me really heavily in that and kind of answered a question that I've had on my mind for a while now. So, Deuteronomy 10, Moses basically, if you don't remember Deuteronomy 9, Moses comes down. There's the golden calf situation. He has to destroy the golden calf and do like 40 days fasting and basically like beg for Israel's mercy from God and that he'll have grace. Right, in Deuteronomy 10, he goes back up, he gets the second tablets, okay, and then he comes down and he gives them like another sermon, from what I know, okay, basically telling them to like circumcise their heart for God, reminding them how great and powerful the God is, and just like standard stuff Moses says, like just a standard sermon, okay. Some cool things I got away from it was verse 14. Moses is saying the heavens and the highest heavens. Okay, when you translate this, it means heavens and the heavens of heavens, right? When he was referring to God in verse 14, go look it up. It only happens 6 times in the Bible. Okay, this is the first time it happens out of the 6 times in the Bible, or maybe it's the second time. I'm not too sure. Okay, which is kind of crazy. Basically, what it's meaning is like beyond our comprehension. Like beyond our comprehension is like that's where God is, and that's what God's power is, all that stuff, right? Verse 16 is basically the verse of Moses telling them to circumcise your heart and get rid of your stubbornness, right? And basically when he's saying that, he is telling us that it is more important, the internal is more important than the external. What you do doesn't really matter, it's where your attitude is and where your heart is, right? So God doesn't really care what sin you've had. He just cares like what are you accepting and justifying and believing about that sin inside of yourself. Does your heart accept his, like, are you a sinner that doesn't know God, but or sorry, no. Well, let me reframe this, okay? God would much rather have a sinner that keeps falling into a sin, even though he knows that that sin is unacceptable and it's a bad sin, rather than a Christian who, doesn't sin or like sins, but, says it's okay, that sin's okay, right? And you see this with like a very common, very challenging, unpopular thing you could say. I'm just going to say it is like liberals, okay? Liberals, they promote abortion. So if you are a Christian and you are voting liberal, you're literally voting for murder. Okay, and this is I'm not saying conservatives are better. Like, conservatives have their things too, right? But I'm just saying, like, this is why I just stay out of politics. Is like, because it's just like, they all do bad things, but it's like you can't be Christian, vote liberal. Like, it's just not possible, right? At least in Canada, because like the liberals do crazy things here, right? So it's that kind of example. Like, are you a Christian and you like vote for this even though they're doing all this and you know about it, right? And you're just like, oh, that's okay, it's like our body, our right? Or are you like Christian and you're like, I don't even associate with that stuff. I'm separated from it, because I know it's bad and I accept it's bad, right? God doesn't want a Christian that votes something and agrees with it and it's like it's okay. He wants Christians that are like totally against it, right? And you see this all throughout Deuteronomy and the Bible. It's just like complete separation. Like every chapter that Moses talks about in Deuteronomy has to do something with like separation. Go and destroy their idols. Go and separate. Don't intermarry. All this stuff, right? Then we get into verse 17. I'm having a hard time reading my text here. Oh, verse 17. God basically in Hebrew he gets called Gibbon, which basically means like in ancient times it means like a very powerful, mighty, kind of like special ops warrior. You know, think like King's David's what was it called? King's David King David had like mighty men or something like that. I think like that, right? And when you think in ancient times, okay, like in ancient times, those mighty men, they had to prove themselves that they were worthy of that title, right? Like they had to work really hard, they had to win battles, they had to take spoils, you know, they had to, you know, defeat the weak and all these things. But in the way Moses is describing it here, God is just so powerful, you know, and he shows us that true power is taking over the widows, the weak people, you know, that's true power. That's what he's talking about here. So it totally like flips the coin on like what they were thinking back then as like what power is, right? He's like, no, power's not you like destroying someone, taking their spoils and this and that. It's like protecting the ones that can't protect themselves. That is true power, right? Which is kind of cool. And then in verse, does that say 12? I don't know, somewhere earlier on in the chapter, which is interesting. Verse 12, I think it's verse 12. You get to see God's grace on Aaron, okay? Because basically it says that they traveled from this place to that place, and it was like a 40-year travel between those places or something like that. And Aaron didn't die, you know. God had grace on the Israelites. Like this is literally just happening right after, you know, the Israelites made that calf, worshipped and partied while Moses was on his knees for 40 days and 40 nights praying to God, right? And God was just bitter and really angry at the Israelites, right? And he was ready to destroy them, just start a whole new generation with Moses, right? And this is right after, and God doesn't punish them. He doesn't give them any consequences or anything. He just says like, he just basically is like, here's my commandments, you know, love me and fear me, right? Remember me. It's like crazy. It's like, wow, that's just like crazy grace. And then I prayed on it, and God just kept giving me the word grace. He was like, grace. And I was like, God, thank you. That is so helpful. I love the word grace too. Yeah, but like, what should I go into it, right? And then he just was like, verse 7. And I was like, okay, whatever. I look up verse 7. Verse 7 is just this weird verse where they're just like, basically, we went from here to there. And I was like, okay, you know, whatever. Let's look at like what the names mean, what these places are. And basically what these places are like, basically they're coming from this place called, I don't know, this one place is called basically like cutting cliff, intercession, or something like that. Just cutting, cliff, sharp, harsh, right? And then the place to go to is the Hebrew definition of it is basically rich, pleasant, good. And I was like, okay, you know, even though the Israelites like sinned and did all this, like God is actively still taking them towards good, pleasant, rich places, right? Like that's crazy grace. Like think about it, like man, I don't even know how to describe it to you guys. Like Israel just sucks. They just suck, guys. Like they're just sinning over and over again, exactly like us. And God's still like, hey, like my grace is so great. I'm still taking you to like rich, pleasant, good land. It's like, wow, that's crazy. That's kind of what I got from Deuteronomy 10. I hope you guys got some from this. And I will see you guys in Deuteronomy 11, which is the video right after this one. Go watch it, okay? Peace.